Welcome to More Details, Please, with your hosts, Emmanuel and Angela Williams, where we dive deeper into conversations with visionary entrepreneurs to discover what it takes to turn passion into purpose. Listen to real-world stories from self-starters and trailblazers, and discover strategies and innovations shaping a greener future. Whether you are a seasoned business person or just starting out, let this be your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable tips for success. Join us now as we create a brighter, greener future together.
Welcome to More Details, Please, broadcasting live in the Business RadioX studios in Tempe, Arizona, where we help entrepreneurs turn their passion into purpose. We're your hosts, Angela
and Emmanuel Williams.
And today in studio, we have a fantastic guest. Jen Freet is here, and she is from Barx Parx in Las Vegas, and we're so happy to have her. So I'm going to give a short introduction of Jen to our radio audience. But first, Emmanuel wants to share.
Well, I just want to say thank you, and we're grateful for your presence. And as an entrepreneur, our podcast is really all about entrepreneurs sharing their stories, because our stories, we connect with so many different people going through different challenges. And entrepreneurs who turn their passion into purpose is serving a greater good. And so, looking at your story and the things that you're doing in the community and how you are caring for your pets is definitely a much needed something that we need here on this planet. So thank you for your time and thank you for being on our show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Really, really happy to be here.
All right. So because I have physically visited Barx Parx in Las Vegas before, I swear it's like a playground for pets. So being Nevada's only indoor dog park, you definitely feel the goodness when you go in. And I'm sure Jen's going to tell us all about the excitement, but if nothing else, you almost feel like you're cheating your pet if you don't bring them to the park to hang out with the other dogs. So her company has been in Las Vegas for a long time. And I'm going to tell you, they are super on top of it. They have been voted best of in almost every category for the last 5 years. So they are the stuff. And I am so happy to have Jen and her company on our podcast for today. So in today's episode, we're going to get into all about teamwork and really getting involved in the community. And that is the feeling that I have to say I got when I was there in Las Vegas. So focusing on the importance of being a team player in business, Barx Parx embraces teamwork and community spirit. I'm going to say it like that every time, Jim. Okay. So we love to explore this topic, and now we're going to get right into it. So, Jim, we're going to start with tell us about you. We want to know all about you. Where you came from, how'd you get there? Go, Jen.
Of course. Yeah. So I've been in Las Vegas for about 15 years. And I came here to be in the corporate casino marketing world and loved my job. Just knew it wasn't my end game. Knew I wasn't, bettering the community, doing my part, so to say. So I started to volunteer at the Henderson Animal Shelter. Loved that. Realized that I wanted to eventually work with animals in some capacity, but I had no idea how. And at the same time, we have rescues of our own, and my husband, Troy, and I were taking ourselves to the outdoor dog parks and frequenting them with our dogs. So you just kind of build a camaraderie with those pet parents, right? The outdoor dog parks are great. There's a lot of pluses and minuses of them, especially in the desert. Sometimes there can be no shade. Clearly, the weather doesn't always work in our favor here. Even in the winter, sometimes it's extremely windy, etc. And, there's pet parents who weren't picking up after their dogs per se. So while there is pluses and minuses, you kind of realize, oh, Fifi's here today, or, oh no, I wonder where Snoopy is. Just these little things, you kind of build that with the pet parents. And there was one super hot day where there's no shade, there was no functioning water, and our dogs are miserable. And my husband's on his phone, looking at whatever score of whatever game. And I'm just like, And I'm pretty sure that it was a Friday because I had like smuggled in a beer. Don't judge me, in a little coffee cup. And I just kind of realized there has to be a better way. Like, so I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was a genius. I was like, oh my gosh, we should make an indoor dog park. I had never heard of it. I had thought it was a completely new concept. Of course, my husband was like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Let's look it up. Let's see if there's anything on the internet. Sure enough, there was a few different similar concepts around the country. So I was a little bit deflated, and he was like, stop, go visit these ones around the country, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, and build your own. And I was like, what? That would take like 2 or 3 years. And he said, so go do it, and just basically supported the entire thing from day one. And I was like, we need to have an indoor dog park with alcohol or with, sporting events on the TVs, kind of like a mix between a sports bar and an outdoor dog park, to where we know that everybody's up to date on vaccines. We know that they've passed a behavior assessment. And he was the one who came up with the idea of all the ancillary services. He's like, well, how the heck are you going to make money when there's a free dog park across the street? So he was like, make sure you do daycare, boarding, grooming, training, self-wash, retail, etc. And I was just wanting to make sure that I did my research. And if we're going to do this, we've got one shot. So how can we make it the best of the best? And we opened our doors in June of 2018, which means we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary this past June. Yes.
That is fantastic. So it was already your love for pets. And then
Right.
how do I make a business out of it? And you being a marketing degree professional, of course, you had
Yes.
to market the idea. So tell me how you made that transition. You're in corporate with a marketing degree, and it's like, yeah, I love dogs, but now I got to make money at it. I got to be able to market. How?
It was really interesting. To be honest with you, I loved my job. It's what I moved. I'm originally from the Chicago area. I actually moved across the country for this job. I loved my job. I love my team. And I gave them 6 months notice when I knew that I was going to do this. And that just sounds absolutely crazy when I tell people that. But I knew that I didn't want to burn any bridges, and that's also going to kind of carry over into some of the teamwork stuff we talk about. Treat people as you want to be treated. And I wanted to give them plenty of heads up that I was going a completely different direction. A lot of people thought I was crazy. And then there was a lot of people who knew that I could do whatever the heck that I said I was going to do, because I am a preparer. I want to make sure that, I did my research. Anything entrepreneurial wise is a huge risk, right? So I wanted to, remove as much risk as possible to ensure that this is going to be a good direction to go in. So I regret nothing, and I'm so glad I did it. And it has taught me, like I said, I loved my previous job in the corporate environment. I absolutely love where I'm at today, though.
Well, Jen, it's interesting because when I went to visit, I'm going to tell you what I felt. I felt like it was a high-end daycare / preschool building. And it was clean. The dogs had individual names. The trainers knew who was doing what and who to put what group with who. We toured the building. We had it was a lot of great environment, friendly attitudes, and it was a whole bunch of different things for dogs. And I'm like, wow, this is just amazing to me because I've never visited anything like that. And it was interesting that I was impressed because I said, this owner really put a lot of love and attention and detail to so many different things to make this business what it is. So it's your reflection of who you are and the love and the joy that you have for dogs. And that's what this whole podcast is about. Finding your passion, what you love, and turning that passion into a purpose. And so, and just me feeling, and we went with Stephanie and Joe, and Stephanie is just on it. She just knows so much. She's just so educated when it comes to dogs. She loves dogs. So, and you attracting those type of people who have that passion about dogs, and the buildings that you have and the business model that you have, I'm just so really impressed.
Thank you. Yeah. I wish I could say it was just, all magic and everything just came together, but I think we all know that it was a ton of work. And a lot of learning along the way. There was first of all, I make mistakes daily. I think we all do. I think that is a very human characteristic. Dogs make mistakes as well. And it's just kind of one of those things to where we've all worked at places where we felt valued or didn't feel valued, right? And so I kind of wanted to take the positives of what I really enjoyed working for other people and how could I translate that into the dog world. And I'm really glad that you even mentioned, you felt like it was clean and everybody knew everybody, and the dogs are individuals. That's not by accident. So like I was mentioning, when visited these similar concepts around the country, whether it was an indoor dog park or a traditional doggy daycare, they're all set up a certain way. A lot of them are very different than ours. Ours is completely open concept, very transparent, not a lot of walls. So you can see and hear and feel like you are part of the group from the second you walk in the door. There are some negatives with that. We are a little bit of a louder facility. Sometimes those dogs like to be very boisterous in their play style, and it's a little hard to hear sometimes. But the transparency feeling and the part of the overall group really speaks volumes for what parents know to expect from us. We're not hiding anything. We've got 18 surveillance cameras as well, and we have a staff that is able to communicate over the 6 foot and the 5 foot and the 4 foot high gates between each yard versus other doggy daycare facilities or indoor dog parks. You walk in and you've got this beautiful lobby, but it's all enclosed, right? You may have a window into a yard, but normally that's pretty much it. So I guarantee you their lobby smells way better than ours. I guarantee you their lobby is much quieter than ours. But those staff at those facilities, they kind of feel like they're left on their own, right? So they're in a room with floor to ceiling walls, and at best might have like a walkie-talkie or a radio on them to communicate with their peers. Our facility, we don't have those floor to ceiling walls. So if there are dogs that, now all dogs bark and there's multiple levels of barking, we don't need to get into that, but there's kind of like, oh shoot, something's kind of escalating in that area. We can hear that before that staff member could even touch a radio, let alone talk on a radio in another facility. So our level of safety on top of that, but because of that transparency, is just astronomically high. And those team members of ours, they feel like everybody has their back because they didn't even say, come help me. And there's already some other staff, kind of walking up, checking in. Is everything good in this yard? It just kind of makes you feel, dogs feed off our energy, right? Mm-hmm. So the calmer we are, the more safe and comfortable we are as humans. The dogs feed off of that. So it just speaks volumes that you guys were able to feel that from a simple tour of our facility. I'm really, really happy to hear that.
Well, let's connect.
Great job.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Let's connect some dots. Going back to your childhood, right? Could you point out a time where what you're doing now and a passion that you have for dogs, going back into your childhood, was there a particular situation or circumstance that happened that shifts your thoughts to saying, wow, I have this passion and this love for dogs? Not knowing you was going to be an entrepreneur, but is there a moment that you can go back to and enlighten us on back in your childhood?
Definitely. Overall, I had, different types of dogs at home growing up. The majority of those were rescues as well. And I was exposed to all different breeds. And again, a lot of rescues in particular, they have a tendency to come with a little bit more baggage, that I guess you might want to say, unpredictable baggage sometimes. And, it requires a high level of care from the pet parents and the family in order to help that dog succeed. We've had a few different, dogs growing up. And I think for me, kind of a light bulb moment was when I was exposed to a pit bull for the first time, to be honest with you. I did not know anything about pitties at the time. So I'd only go by, what I heard or what I read. And I was a little bit hesitant and I could feel, the heart palpitations as a child, be nervous around this dog. And that dog ended up being the sweetest dog in the entire world, more loving than any other breed that I had ever met up until that point. And really was kind of a light bulb moment for me as hold on, how do we, a couple of different factors with that, right? So, how do we stop discrimination in all forms across humans, dogs, all of that? How do we stop that? As well as how do we help those dogs succeed and kind of overcome that, if there is underlying discrimination that we can't get rid of, how do we help those dogs succeed? So the dog training to, kind of help those dogs be able to learn the skills to be, quote unquote, well-behaved dogs in the eyes of others is a key factor in that, as well as, there's other doggy daycare facilities that discriminate against breeds. They will not even let you on site if you fall into a specific category. And we choose to treat every dog as an individual, no matter what your age, no matter what your size, no matter what your breed, my dogs included. Everybody has to go through a behavior assessment with their pet parent present the entire time. So we can all observe these behaviors and talk about these behaviors, as well as, a lot of these dogs that are sitting in the shelters, oh, well, I can't rescue them because, maybe they're not social with other dogs, right? Our facility, all of our training rooms, they also have an exterior door to where if that dog does not pass a behavior assessment, right? Let's say they're super uncomfortable at our facility, they're just not thrilled to be there, they can still attend through a back door, a private training class to help, build that confidence through, positive reinforcement and enriching activities that a lot of other facilities, they just simply don't allow. And we have learned that if we don't, if we're teaching our children and trying to teach the world to not discriminate against people, why would we not be doing the same with dogs? So I wanted to make sure, it's kind of interesting to kind of connect the dots now to make sure that, all dogs are treated equal, all people are treated equal. They kind of go hand in hand, and I can see a lot of similarities with humans that translate well with dogs, right? So if you're a dog lover, you're just a wonderful person and you kind of have your eyes open a little bit more. And I think that a lot of those things are received well, and we're helping to help educate pet parents and share knowledge on the truth versus judging anybody for what they look like.
Got it. Let's talk about those dog lovers just for a second.
Okay.
Sure.
So the Team Players Playbook in Business highlights the strategies and behaviors you adopt to contribute to the team's success within the business overall. And one of the things that you mentioned is your team, you have dog lovers. What else makes your team so special?
The biggest thing that makes our team so special is that they all genuinely want to be there. If they don't, I encourage them, let me help you find a job that you do enjoy. What are you passionate about in life? If it's not this, don't stay. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help those wonderful dogs, right? So I think the number one thing is that they are genuinely wanting to be there. So there's a whole different feeling when you want to go into work every day, right? It is very hard to have a bad day when you work with dogs. We have been fortunate enough to have a ton of applications and a ton of resumes because a lot of people want to work with dogs. Now, you still have to weed through all that to find those amazing candidates, right? And all of them have very different personalities, but they all have a very positive attitude, the ones that get hired, and a general sense of fun. They are inspiring and uplifting to their teammates, kind of encouraging them no matter where they are in their journey with Barx Parx, which just creates a more enjoyable workplace, and the dogs benefit from that too. All of our team, they are extremely adaptable. There is a lot that is unpredictable when you work with animals. The level of patience and compassion that they have for the dogs also translates to each other and helps them work together to problem solve, when the challenges arrive, to, kind of work together to get to a common goal. They also have a lot of attention to detail and ability to multitask, right? So there's never a dull moment here. So whether there is, a pet parent coming in to pick up or drop off their dog, there's four dogs going potty at the same time in the yard. There's two dogs meeting for this first time and aren't super thrilled with each other and showing some, behavior that we can step in and help, de-escalate and channel in a different direction, to coming to meals and medications and special instructions. We get the pet parents that will send in, printed pages of how to take care of their dog during boarding. And we welcome that, send us those bullet points. We want to do the best of the best. They have a lot of, respect and empathy for each other, again, something that you kind of translate from the dog world to the human world. When a dog is having an upset tummy day, and oh my gosh, that's not that dog's fault. They're trying to be a good dog still, and to just kind of have that mutual respect and empathy for everybody, is just trying to do their best and trying to learn and help each other get better. And speaking of their best, I think one of the biggest things that separates our team from other teams is that we never settle for not getting better than what we were the day before. It is always a learning experience, and you can learn something new from each other or from the dogs or from the pet parents every single day on how to do better, right? So you were kind enough at the beginning of this to mention some of those awards that we have been fortunate enough to win and get some recognition for. And I challenge our team daily to, you guys, this is wonderful. We are so proud of this accomplishment. But if we were voted best of, X, Y, and Z in 2022, what do you think we could do to be better than ourselves next year then? How can we still improve? What are some efficiencies? What are some, practices that we can put into place? And I encourage our new team members when they are hired, you are a fresh set of eyes. Help us improve. Just because we've been doing something the same way for 5 years does not mean that we need to continue doing it that way. If there's a better way or, a more compassionate way or a quicker way, there's a whole bunch of different situations that you can look at. Our team is incredibly special, but they are fueled daily to continue in that direction. So it is not a happy accident that just happens on day one. You can walk around and you can feel the whole vibe of our team. And so even if you're having a rough day, right, those days where, oh my gosh, these dogs are barking and I have a headache and oh my gosh, you have a surrounding family that you just happen to work with who can help build you up and accommodate you even on those tough days. So hopefully that helped answer that question. I realized
that did because that's
our team is incredible, so I could clearly talk about them all day long.
And that's what this segment is all about, using that teamwork playbook. So Emmanuel, I'm sorry, you had a question.
I do have a question. I noticed that you deal with a lot of rescue dogs.
Yes.
What is it about you that attract you to those type of dogs?
I've always rooted for the underdog, whether it comes to humans or animals. I'm an empath in terms of my personality. I have a lot of compassion for the struggles that we all go through. We kind of joke about it sometimes on our team that a lot of us who work with animals, struggle with everyday things that a lot of humans do, that there really isn't any light shed on. Anxiety is number one. We all struggle with some level of anxiety, right? I love rescue dogs. I love reputable bred dogs. I don't discriminate against either, but my heart definitely goes out for the rescues because they have already been given up at least one time. They've already been unwanted at least one time. And it takes so little to win a dog over to where they love you unconditionally for life and will wait by that door every second of the day until you get home. And the second you get home, they just absolutely love you. So it is kind of just ingrained in me to help foster those relationships because our shelters last week, I'm not sure if it's still true this week, but last week, the Henderson Animal Shelter, where I volunteered for 2 years while getting the business off the ground, they posted that they were full. They were absolutely full. They had no more spots to take in dogs. And I couldn't imagine personally giving my dog away. So to be able to create a space where no matter what you come with, right, you might not be the most social dog. You might have to build some of that confidence and training before coming to our facility. You might have to have a better relationship with your pet parent prior to coming to our facility. But once you kind of look at those dogs, especially the rescues, and help them succeed, that's all you need to be feeling, rewarded and proud of what you're contributing back to the community. That those dogs can never physically say thank you, but they can show you thank you all day long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, what's exciting is a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to our show, they are trying to make that transition from employee to business owner. Tell us about your journey and a few of the adjustments that you had to make because now you're your own boss.
This is an ongoing journey. So it's definitely been a learning curve for sure. No matter what my role is in my career at any point in time, I've always been a self starter. I've always been an early bird for sure. I am very much more productive in the mornings than I am in the afternoons or the evenings. So that luckily has translated pretty easily into working with dogs because dogs are quieter in the mornings. They kind of just like are waking up from boarding and it's a little bit quiet. I can get a lot of work done. So the schedule has pretty much been an easy transition, but I would say that there's definitely kind of three phases of being my own boss in this pre-opening, and then once we were opened, then immediately trying to figure out everything all at once. And then we actually doubled our size in May of 2022 and went from a 6,000 square foot facility to a 12,000 square foot facility. And that's kind of what I'm living in now. So for the pre-opening phase, before we, got off the ground, that was very interesting to maneuver. So, like I mentioned, I gave 6 months notice to my other job. I was basically working a 40-hour a week work week for my career in corporate marketing. And then I was working additionally another 40-ish hours a week on trying to figure out if I could do this, build my business plan, come up with financials, do a site layout. There's not a lot of these around the country, so there wasn't exactly any necessarily easily accessible resources for me to go to get help. So, but like I said before, I knew I only had one shot, so I was okay with failure, but I wanted to give it everything I had to see if this was something that could work. So the pre-opening phase was definitely a lot to adjust to because I was working on this career and then I had to completely change my mindset and work on this career. And then once we were opened, everybody tries to prepare you for the absolute chaos of running a business in year one. There are no words to describe it. There were days that I was on site for 22 hours a day. I would take naps in my office, which shows you how not busy we were as a dog business to be able to sleep on site. It's not that I didn't trust my staff. Our staff has always been wonderful from day one, but the level of questions that nobody had yet and nobody had the answer to yet, I physically had to be there in order to answer those and kind of help navigate us through that and figure it out as we go. I wore many hats in year one. I was in the yard watching dogs for hours and hours, hoping that somebody would call and schedule their dog to come in and play with us. Obviously, dealing with all of the HR stuff, dealing with all of the new hire stuff, training new staff, and trying to, help educate pet parents on why to choose us. Come check out our facility. I still remember she's now my best friend, but the first dog we talk about marketing. I set up a social media page about 6 months before opening the business. And I still remember the very first dog. It was a golden retriever named Hamilton, who posted a picture and tagged us. And he was sitting in front of our windows below the, coming soon, Barx Parx opening, summer of 2018. And I was floored. I was so flattered that there was a dog who was excited about us opening. So fast forward to then we opened, and I met that wonderful pet parent and that wonderful dog, and she was a teacher. And I basically said, what the heck do I do to get people to try out our facility? There's all these wonderful dog facilities. How do I try to get them to check us out? And she's like, oh, well, I can send Hamilton for free on any days that you don't have dogs, and he can get along with anybody, large, small, whatever, do you want to have him? So Hamilton and I would sit in the yard by ourselves for hours waiting for clients to reach out and schedule their dogs. And this memory is just a core memory of mine. And those multiple hats that you had to wear, oh my gosh, I'm getting no sleep, but oh my gosh, I've got to be the coolest boss in the world and the most excited about this facility, and not miss a beat, because those dogs, you want to be watching their communication to each other and their behavior all day long. It was wild. So luckily I was able to hire more staff to kind of not wear so many hats every single day and breathe a little bit. And then COVID happened. Obviously, COVID affected every business differently. Ours was initially negative because everybody canceled all of their boarding. Nobody's traveling. Everybody canceled all of their daycare because they either weren't working anymore or were working from home. Everybody canceled their indoor dog park memberships because they can't come to our facility. We were not an essential business at the time. And nobody could do training because, again, that was in person. So, you launch online training and Zoom training, and it didn't really take off. So literally all of our sources of revenue were not coming in. So that's actually when we launched grooming. We were not going to be a grooming facility from the beginning for various reasons. But we basically, within a 2-week period decided, hey, this is going to be what keeps us afloat and gets us through COVID. And here we are. We made it through COVID thanks to grooming. Grooming was an essential business, and the dogs needed grooming, whether there was a pandemic or not. So that got us through COVID. And then after COVID, it actually, gosh, I hate to say that COVID helped our business, but hear me out. So in relationship to the dog side of the world, during COVID, a lot of people got a dog, or they got a second dog. Mm-hmm. Or they got more attached to their current dog because they were at home with them, or their value of time and important relationship changed, right? So once COVID was kind of in the clear, we exploded. We had waiting lists of 30, 40 dogs a day trying to come to our facility. And I was like, oh my gosh, be careful what you wish for, right? So we exploded. And I think that the third phase, which is what I'm kind of in now, of the ongoing journey of, kind of transitioning from working for somebody else and being my own boss. We now have 47 employees. We have a 12,000 square foot facility, and there are days where I'm like, how do I keep everything straight? But because of the core culture that we fostered from the beginning, that is carried through. So I encourage our staff to always own it. If you make a mistake, own it, right? I do the same thing as a boss. That was definitely a learning curve. I now, you kind of realize, as an employee, I could retain so much more information that was just said to me. That's not really a thing as a boss. I need it to be in writing. If it's something important that includes a day or a time, can you please email that to me so that I actually can, remember that? It's not an intentional thing, but my brain is pretty full. And it's full of wonderful things, but it's pretty full. And, to kind of just acknowledge that and be transparent with people, you show a vulnerable side as a boss that I have never seen from my previous bosses, that I am able to show to my staff, and it just puts you all on the same level some days. So there are days when they pick me up and they are just like, you are amazing today. Don't worry about the simple mistake you made on X, Y, and Z. And it translates well for when they make a mistake. I hire people specifically who have transferable skills that could apply to any job, right? Do they care about things? Are they going to be upset if, they're not crushing it every day and, they make a mistake? Because that makes my job as a boss so much easier. Sweet, you messed up. Welcome to being a human. Do you care? Are you wanting to fix that for the future? Do you apologize? Those are all things that I'm able to, now that we have 47 staff, that was an adjustment in itself. But now that we have 47 staff, who we've got a tiered structure management team with a general manager, assistant manager, shift leads, et cetera, to kind of take that day-to-day hat wearing off of me so I can focus on the big picture a little bit more and kind of hone in on that company culture that I think a lot of businesses, as they get bigger and as the boss, is able to step away a little bit more, I don't think that they do that. I don't think that that's still their focus. And that's what I'm trying to do different.
Ah, wow. That was great.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
What is the purpose of a dog?
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
That could go a few different directions, but I think it all boils down to the purpose of a dog is love. So however you want to, kind of pick that apart, they provide love, they receive love, they change your day to day on so many levels if you have a close relationship with your dog. They are similar to what a human child provides for a mother or a father. A lot of the pet parents that come to our facility, they don't have human children. This is their baby. So I do think that a dog's purpose is love in a lot of different senses of the word. They teach us love. They teach us how to love. They teach us how to love others, love ourselves. Dogs are not worried about, this little patch of fur that's missing, on the bottom of their paw because they were, playing too hard and it rubbed off. They don't care about that stuff. They don't care what the dog next to them looks like. They're just there to have a good time and provide love, share love, teach love, receive love. That to me is what I think a dog's purpose is.
And I'm glad we're talking about this part of it because, when you talked about COVID and how people start to get more dogs or they became more attached to the dogs that they had. And, I heard a guy say, Lord, teach me to be the person that my dog think I am.
Yes.
Because the dogs don't even judge you, right? And
No,
and the reason why I wanted to talk about this part is because I want to exemplify the work that you're doing and the good that you are sharing in this world. Because when you look at the world we live in, and you look at mental health, you look at suicide rates, you look at
Yep.
the fear, all of these different things that we're dealing with as a society. When you are able to get that nurturing, where, even going back in your childhood where you was wounded, walking around carrying the pain and suffering of so many different things that humans is carrying with them, but don't even realize it. That dog plays a noble role in that feeling security. That dog plays a noble role in that person becoming or feeling whole. That is joy that the world needs. And I can feel your joy. I can feel your enthusiasm. And as you nurture and care for these dogs, and as these dogs go into the world and provide nurturing for humans, that's making the world a better place, right? And it's really exciting to be able to witness somebody like you and the joy that you give off just in your aura and the joy that you give in helping dogs and being a part of this community. That's really, really important.
Thank you. I love hearing that. I am a firm believer that the vibe of any company, no matter what the industry, big or small, that the vibe of any company starts from and trickles down from the very top. If I am not loving life, loving those dogs, loving this job, loving those pet parents, loving those teammates that I hired, they're not going to do that, right? So you can't expect the vibe to change and just be this amazing, ball of energy if the top boss is coming in, not wanting to be there and, come on, let's go, just, rush, rush, rush. And, you know, you have to, dogs repeat what we teach, humans repeat what we teach. Am I perfect? Oh my gosh, absolutely not. Not even close to the sense of the word. But do I genuinely love Barx Parx and every single person and dog that comes inside? Yes, I do. And that translates, and the expectation is kept high to our staff that that will continue translating, that energy that I bring in, that they will feed off of that and they will share with those pet parents and they will share with those dogs. It starts from the top, but it trickles down beyond that. And I started to realize that, especially like, you're talking about today's world and, the work environment, that the mental health issues, especially in today's world with a lot of these struggles that traditional businesses have with keeping staff and, having high turnover. Right now, people can get a job anywhere. Everybody's hiring and constantly hiring. So many businesses are struggling to keep the staff that they already do have. So I love that the topic of this podcast is focused on the team. I learned very early on that I am like 1% of what keeps Barx Parx where it's at today. The team feeding off of and learning from and carrying that movement and that contagious ball of energy is what holds that bar still so high. It's my job to recognize and reward them for when they are absolutely crushing it. There's some not fun days where it's my job to point out where they can improve. And I promise you, because of the relationships that we've fostered with, each other, my goal is nobody should have a bad day at Barx Parx. Nobody. Me, you, dogs, pet parents, nobody. So if we've got something to hash out, hey, you've been messing up on X, Y, and Z again. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it at the beginning of the day so that we can both apologize, both move on, both come up with a game plan and still have an incredible day after that. There's no reason why you have to have this, closed door policy. Now don't get me wrong, pretty much every business says that they have an open door policy. And what's ironic is my door is actually closed a lot because I can't concentrate with the dogs barking. But that translates into I cannot function without an open door policy. I need to know what's going on. If you guys are not loving life, if I implemented something that is a horrible policy, let me know. Let's revisit. Let's look back at it together. The more you include your team in all of those decisions, the happier they're going to be, the more fulfilled they're going to be. People are not quitting jobs necessarily. If they love their job, they're not necessarily quitting their jobs as quickly, right? They have a tendency to stay on longer, right? Or even like naturally, people are going to move on and get these wonderful, high-paying careers that aren't necessarily going to be in the ability of Barx Parx to offer them. Whenever that happens, I highly encourage and congratulate those people. And I'll tell you what, because of the culture that we have, a lot of those people, when they move on, first of all, they give a proper 2 weeks notice because they love their team. They love me. They want to make sure they don't, screw anybody over, that type of thing. But whenever they give a proper 2 week notice, I allow them, if they want, to stay on the scheduling app to pick up shifts in the future randomly, right? Whenever they want to. I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 people who have quit Barx Parx in the last 3 years. Took me about 2 years to kind of figure out, navigate this. I would say about 8 or 9 out of 10 within the last 3 years have stayed on the schedule by choice and picked up shifts or offered to help when so and so was out on vacation. Heck, when me and my husband are on a vacation, we take the same 2 weeks every year, and the droves previous employees that step up during that time to be like, oh my gosh, enjoy your vacation. I'll help out with any call outs. I'll help out with anything management needs. It's just like, wow, it just comes back full circle. And really, they have taught me how to be a better person as well. And, it's just with the world we live in today, like you were mentioning, it's just now more important than ever to support each other in whatever facets we can.
You hit on something. You talked about the different ways that team player attitude shows up. It definitely shows up in the relationship that you have with existing and past employees because they're always there and available. What other ways has it shown up for you in your personal life, perhaps?
What other ways can you repeat that?
Yeah, that team player attitude has shown up for you.
Well, definitely in my marriage and in my personal relationships, that team player attitude goes a long way. When you are even just driving down the street and you have, so-and-so person cut you off or, have a road rage incident, how you handle those things and how you look at it and what is solvable and what is, going to be just fine if you don't react to it a certain way. That type of stuff translates into everything you do all day long. My husband, we are actually celebrating our 11th wedding anniversary this month. He is the true definition of a team player and has taught me so much of what works, right? And what works in, personal relationships should be able to work in a employee to employer relationship. And, it's all about that mutual respect, that open communication, that compassion when you do mess up, but owning when you mess up as well. And genuinely trying to fix it. When we're hiring for new people, I don't necessarily look for who has the most experience dealing with dogs. In my opinion, a lot of that is transferable. If you're a dog lover, I can teach you how to look out for those, communication, dog to dog communication, that behavior, how to properly handle a dog and safely move them from yard to yard. But I cannot teach you how to be a good human being. And the more you surround yourself, I've been fortunate enough to surround myself with 47 incredible team players on a daily basis. But the more you surround yourself with those types of people, that's what you're going to attract. So our clients fall into that category as well, because they walk through that door just like you guys did, and they feel this instant, wow, I'm a part of something really cool here. I've got a million questions, but I'm part of something really cool, and I feel good coming here, Those dogs roll up to our facility like we are doggy Disneyland. They are just ready to have their best life ever. Can't nobody hold them down. They're going to go potty wherever they want to, and zooming out all of that energy. And I mean, all of those relationships can transfer into, your own personal life and who you deal with on a daily basis. Like I was kind of even mentioning, how so many traditional businesses are struggling, with staff retention right now. Okay, so let's talk about your, local restaurant that you go to for dinner, and if that food comes out late or if it comes out cold or, if your waitress or, server messes up your order, how are you going to handle that? And what type of person are you going to be? Am I going to say that you shouldn't mention anything that's wrong? No. But how you handle those situations, and if you do choose to mention something, are you looking at the bigger picture as well? Are you being a kind, compassionate human being, So by hiring and drawing in those types of wonderful people, it helps me want to be a better person whenever I'm in, the real world, outside of Barx Parx and, at a restaurant, not having the best service in the world and, potentially, not agreeing on every single thing with my husband, just kind of how you approach that stuff. It's all about your attitude.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because I think sometimes my husband and I, we live together, we work together, we do almost everything together. So how you behave in work definitely translates to your personal life. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we forget that. I mean, not
Yes.
just when you're working with your family, but just period. We forget that when you give great customer service, that's one thing. And you expect great customer service. So when you go to that restaurant, for example, and something is not right, it is your attitude and how you handle it. Makes all the
Yes.
difference in the world. So we recently did a podcast with, of course, Stephanie and Joe called Barking Dogs Big Lessons, Applying Canine Psychology to Business Success. So can you share with our listening audience business lessons from your experience working with dogs?
Yes, I would say the number one thing is that dogs will repeat what we teach, right? So that translates to any business. If you are not putting in the time, not putting in the effort to, create a culture or to come up with a wonderful onboarding portion of your facility that has incredible staff training, those dogs or those humans are going to be running around like all chaos, right? Definitely has taught me that, what you put into people is what you get out. And you can't expect them to know right from wrong, right? So dogs don't know right from wrong. They know how they get acknowledged and rewarded for those behaviors. Okay, I want to do that again because I want that food that I got, that treat that I got when I did X, Y, and Z, right? Or that petting that I got when I
Mhm.
did such behavior. Humans are the same way. So that is why I like to focus on what I can teach and actually teach it, right? So don't come in and, set all these super high expectations and then not practice and not put in the effort, making sure that those things are continuing to happening. So the whole dog training philosophy of practicing and always improving on your skills is definitely relatable to the business world. Another lesson that I learned is kind of one I've already touched on, that dogs feed off of our energy and the same is true for people, right? So if I walk into a dog daycare yard that has 12 dogs and all of those dogs are sleeping and they're calm and they're chill, and I come in and super crazy and all this boisterous, and all those dogs are on the feet and alert and oh my gosh, probably anxious and wondering what the heck is going on, and that's translatable to your staff as well. So how clients as too, it's not just necessarily staff. How do you handle those tough situations? Do you come in like this crazy, fired up, upset when things are in danger or when there's anything that's potential, to be an issue? How do you handle that? You want to exert the energy that you want brought back to you. So if there is something, that a dog is going to feed off our energy, and so are the humans. So you can easily walk into a yard full of dogs. Now, the opposite side of that, you can walk into a dog full of yards, well, a yard full of dogs, my apologies. And all of those dogs are, bouncing off the walls, running around, and, they just have crazy zoomies. And if you walk in and you are just calm and composed and you slowly walk through that yard and you talk to those dogs as you go, they will slowly start to calm down. And you did nothing other than bring in that specific energy that you want matched by them. And people are the same way. Business is the same way. Dogs feed off our energy, and the same is true for people. And when it comes to why does dog training work, the same can be applied for humans. They're gonna repeat what you teach. So if you don't put in the effort from day one and spend some time and train with how you want them to do things and explain the why. A lot of people, well, I'm only putting dog A in yard number one because that's what I was told to do. Well, maybe we should, explain a step further that dog A goes in yard 1 because yard 1 is the high energy active dogs, and dog A is coming in hot every time they come in. Sometimes when you take the extra second to put in that little effort and reinforce a particular reason of why we do something and why it should be the direction we go, you solve a problem in the future that you didn't even know was coming because you took that extra effort from the beginning. And dogs are the same way. If you teach a dog, how do you teach a dog, to sit? Well, catch the dog doing the behavior, and when they do the behavior, reward it. Practice, 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 right? Dogs don't necessarily learn anything overnight, and I don't think that it should be expected that humans do either. I think that is where a lot of that compassion comes in, and encouragement and recognition when they do it correctly.
Yeah, fantastic. I know you want to jump in.
I do have a question for you.
I can feel him over here like, wait, I got a question.
What is
energy?
What is the characteristic that a dog has that you admire, that you want to exemplify more in your life?
Oh man, we have a couple of dogs that are accepting of everybody. So they are dogs that we use for behavior assessments because they will accept a large dog, a small dog, whatever breed. They are just chill and go with the flow. They are there to live their best life, and they forgive. So sometimes in those behavior assessments, sometimes those higher energy dogs, or even the scared ones who bring no energy other than hiding in the corner, sometimes those dogs react, and it's not necessarily a positive reaction. Not, talking about a fight or anything like that, but let's say, a super scared dog is hiding in the corner and showing its teeth. That's not necessarily a desired behavior, but this other dog, how do they react to that? Are you entering that energy zone, bringing compassion and patience and love? I have learned from a couple of dogs in particular that you can get along with pretty much everybody as long as you have a mutual respect and open communication and understanding that people need their own space. Not everybody's going to match what you're bringing in. I still fully believe that you should be intentional about the level of energy that you bring in, but not everybody's going to match that, right? Dogs have a ton of different personalities. There's shy dogs, there's outgoing dogs. I would definitely like to be on the same wavelength as the dogs of ours that just get along with everybody and make the best of whatever situation, right? So the dogs who, let's say that they were in a behavior assessment and the new dog that they met was a little bit rude in their greeting and just like really in their face, kind of sniffing them a little bit too close for a little bit too long. How do you handle that? You're going to walk away and kind of be cool, walk it off. You're going to come back and, bark right back in that dog's face. So that is the type of dog that I strive to be and have learned from in terms of just accepting everybody for who they are, getting along to the best of my ability, and just being adaptable. Try to go with the flow with whatever situation, because you sure as heck cannot predict how every dog is going to act, and especially if it's a new dog. And how do you react to those situations?
Dogs will be dogs.
Because what I hear is you being in the present moment. Your ability to be present.
Oh my God. I love that. Yes.
Your ability to be aware that you're aware of what you're feeling. Your ability to be aware that you're not going to react based on how you feel, but you're going to respond because you created that space to be aware enough to make the right decision. So that's kind of what I heard with that. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So this is back to that excitement. Barx Parx is the 2023 Top Workplaces winner. Yay! Congratulations. So this award is based entirely on employee feedback. So can you share with our listening audience how you created that people first culture? And you actually talked about it a bit earlier. Anything in addition you'd like to share?
Yeah, no, of course. First of all, thank you so much. We're actually incredibly proud of this particular award. It's the Top Workplaces of Nevada Award. So we actually placed in 2022, we placed 29th in all of the state of Nevada in terms of small businesses, which are up to 150 employees. And in 2023, they announce it in 2 weeks what level we're at, but they did already tell us back in April that we won again. So we're super
Oh, wow.
stoked. This award is completely different than any other award that we win, because this one is all based on 100% feedback from our staff, unbiased feedback, good feedback, bad feedback. It is raw and honest, and it just is so cool that they feel like they can share. Oh, and it's anonymous. So fully can share anything they want to share, good, bad, ugly, or otherwise. And the fact that they feel like our workplace is a safe and truly inclusive workplace, I think is just something that you don't necessarily feel across the board wherever you go. I mentioned that, we thrive off of transparency, open and honest communication, strong focus on recognition and appreciation. And that is something that I'm really striving for with the more staff that we have, is to make sure that, if they're taking away projects from me, that I'm not tied up with on the day to day, how can I, acknowledge that still and show regular appreciation for their hard work, as well as provide them with a proper work life balance. That is something that a lot of places just don't acknowledge, let alone strive to have. You're only going to be as happy at our working as our facility as you are in your own personal life. So if we don't have a allotment for you to fully enjoy your life outside of our workplace, you're not going to enjoy working at our workplace, right? So we have to balance the two. And the people first culture, I again kind of attribute to, it starts with me, but I watch that trickle down and hold high those expectations of, hey, we are not a bullying facility. We don't tolerate, discrimination. We welcome everybody. There's a lot of different things like that you just don't have at other businesses, small or large. Or if you do, it doesn't really feel like a family. And I know that there's a lot of places that say, oh my gosh, it's like working with a family. This is by far the first place that I've ever felt that at. And it's also the first place that the staff has continually come back to me and said, oh my gosh, this is just sets the bar high for any other future job that they ever have. And they're so thankful for the environment. I love fostering those relationships and, being a part of their career at Barx Parx, but also being part of those life lessons, right? So how do you deal with, interpersonal conflict and, trying to problem solve when there's a bigger issue, that's stuff that people can take outside of Barx Parx. And I think that I think it speaks volumes that they know that they are the reason. We're very upfront with them. You guys are going to decide if we, win this award or not. The fact that they know that they're going to have a contributing factor, and we don't, if you guys do this, we'll throw a pizza party. We don't do anything like that. Like, this is strictly on them. But the fact that they know that they are fully in control of us winning this award or not, and we've never had an issue. They require, I want to say, like 75% participation in order to qualify. We've never had an issue with even being close to that. you have so many opportunities to share how you feel in life. And a lot of us don't take those opportunities when they're there. And even though I said that this is a completely anonymous survey that they fill out, we have no idea who's saying what. There's always some good information that we can read, even though we don't know who it came from, about how to improve again for the future, right? So, kind of like I was saying back at the beginning, we have been fortunate enough to win a lot of great awards, and this is by far the one that I personally am most proud of. But there's always something that I can still learn from it, and like, it's actually a really good point. I should be more present on so and so day, even though I'm not technically, just whatever the feedback is, it's always interesting to learn from. And it speaks volumes, I think, that they know that they determine where we rank on this award, and they rush to provide their feedback way before the deadline and in droves. We've never been even close to only having 75% participation.
Wow, that is fantastic. And I think that sums up why being a team player is so important in your workplace and definitely in others. I know you do some consulting as well. Do you want to speak on the consulting real quick? And Emmanuel's going to have a question, and then I'm going to have one final question for you. All right, so
Yeah.
speak on the consulting because we cannot let this time go by and you've not addressed the great work that you're doing in the community. You're giving back,
Thank
even though you're so
you.
busy. Lordy.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll touch real quickly on consulting. Kind of like when I mentioned when we're trying to get Barx Parx off the ground. There wasn't like a hub of information that I wasn't able to easily access from anybody. It was just kind of like do your own research and figure it out. We want to kind of offer training and support to similar concepts around the country, whether they're getting off the ground or already operating. We help with business planning, financial or revenue modeling. We've helped with real estate selection, facility layouts, branding and marketing, hiring and operating. All of those services can be custom tailored to their specific needs. We don't believe in a one size fits all approach. And so we kind of let all of our consulting calls, we kind of let them start off with a introduction to, get an idea of what these few entrepreneurs are looking for and where they're at in their process. And then they actually provide us the most of the time with what questions they want answered. So kind of helps steer the direction. My background is in marketing. I also absolutely loved building out the layout of our facility and hiring and operating and stuff like that. My husband's specialty has always been in IT. So when it comes to audio, visual, software, hardware, whatever, he is the go-to. He's also been phenomenal in helping out with the real estate selection. So we kind of make a good team with our consulting services. A lot of the new businesses that approach us, they are in their pre-launch phase. So I love learning about where they're at and what they want to know. I love sharing what I've learned along the way and help them avoid some of those mistakes. And I love just fostering those relationships. So as far as consulting goes, I'm here for it in any capacity. There are wonderful people that we've met around the country. Some have come to actually shadow me and watch what I do all day and ask those questions in person. A lot of them are just, consulting calls about an hour-ish long. So yeah, so the business consulting services is an exciting part of Barx Parx that I think we launched after, again, about being 2 years open. The first 2 years was a lot of trial and error and figure out how to operate at the best of our abilities. And then I kind of feel like we're like, I bet there's a lot of people who could benefit from some of this. So, yes, it is actually taken off very well.
Thank you for paying it forward because it matters so much for entrepreneurs, really, which is the whole purpose why we're here talking on this podcast.
And I just want to say in parting that the same joy that you feel when you look at a beautiful flower and the same joy and love that you feel when you look into the eyes of a dog and the same joy that that dog feel when it's connected to you is all a part of our purpose while we're here. The,
Yep.
the same joy that you feel when you help your brother man.
Mhm.
We are all connected on a deeper level. We're all connected from a source of love and joy. And listening to your testimony and seeing the joy that emanate from you, even as I sit here in Arizona and you in Las Vegas, we're connected. And so I just want to encourage you to continue to be that light. Continue to be the light and live your life in a way that is on purpose. And you're in line with that. You found what you're doing, you love what you're doing, and you're doing it in a way where you're making a difference for humanity. So thank you and continue to be that light because you makes the world a better place.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that.
So, Jen, how can our listeners get in touch with you? What is the best way for them to reach you? And part 2, we're going to have another show. This will be before July, not before Labor Day or whatever the type.
Yeah.
And that is where you came up with Barx Parx and the brightness that you have. So, to be continued. Okay, go ahead. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, of course. I'm always down to chat as long as it's not within these summer months in the desert. It is absolutely crazy. Whenever it's super hot, those pet parents who love their dogs to pieces never want them outside. So it gets a little chaotic at Barx Parx. But yeah, I'm always happy to have around too. In regards to getting a hold of me, definitely check out our website, barxparx.com. That's BARX.PARX.com. And then you can actually email me directly. Email is always the best way to get a hold of me. I work super early in the mornings. You can reach me at Jen, Jen, at barxparx.com as well. Especially if you're interested in any consulting services, easily able to connect with me on email.
Awesome. Fantastic. You've been listening to More Details, Please on Business RadioX. The podcast is brought to you by Detail Experts, the mobile steam cleaning company that saves the planet one franchise at a time. Until next time, I'm Angela.
And Emmanuel Williams.
And thank you so much, Jen.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for listening to More Details, Please, presented by Emmanuel and Angela Williams from Detail Experts, the mobile steam cleaning company dedicated to protecting the planet. Be sure to subscribe to More Details, Please, on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Facebook at Detail Experts and visit detailexperts.net. That's DETAILXPERTS.net. We hope you've gained some valuable insights from our conversations today. Stay driven by curiosity, and we'll bring you more details next time.